Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show. Spenser, welcome to the Principal Podcast. Happy to have you.
Really a pleasure to be here.
Let's jump straight into it. What's the story, Spenser? How does one spend 3 decades at the intersection of technology, financial services, and business transformation to finally build ActiFi? What's the story?
Well, the story starts with the mission. I've spent my entire career in financial services, and one of the things, it's been a blessed career, but one of the challenges that I've observed is that this paradox of the people who most need access to world-class and integrated advice have the least access, and the people who least need it have the most access. And so I founded the firm on the singular mission, which is to enable financial institutions and their advisors to deliver world-class integrated advice more effectively and profitably. And again, it's up until recently with the AI boom coming, it has been difficult from an economics point of view, from having the right expertise on board to truly deliver a world-class integrated advice experience. But now it's becoming much more realistic to do that for a larger swath of clients, a larger group of clients.
Love that. What is the problem that you help solving now? What is the outcome that you help people achieve exactly?
Well, in an ideal world, it is to help them deliver significantly higher quality, more integrated advice, both to advisors, where you've got relationship managers or leaders working with advisors to coach them, or from the advisor to client perspective. So we really span both sets of relationships, the firm to advisor relationship, as well as the advisor to client relationship, focusing on how do you deepen engagement, retention, and growth of both advisors and clients.
I'm taking a tangent already, but very curious to get your take on this. I was in a workshop in a room with like 8 entrepreneurs, all making more than $5 million a year. One of them was a wealth manager who had an exit opportunity basically for a crazy multiple because 98% retention rate. And one of the big conversation was AI in wealth management, because at the end of the day, the advice, the update from the markets, basically the information that we have access to now without paying the maintenance fee plus 1-2%, whatever. How are you seeing all this in that space? So better advice, obviously, but how are you seeing it impact wealth advisor and ultimate customer on the day-to-day?
Well, and again, we're depending upon what customers we're talking about. For the wealthier clients that have complex financial lives, it is truly human AI synergy, where the advisor is becoming more human and focusing more on the human value added activities, like the listening and the empathy and the tacit knowledge of the client situation and responsibilities, and then offloading a lot of the non-high human value added work to AIs, so that the advisor can spend more time deepening the relationship. So I really see it as a tool to deepen relationships, to go broader versus narrower across different domains of wealth management. Right now, a lot of folks have a whole bunch of different, they've got an insurance person, they've got an investments person, they've got a tax person. Bringing that all together is really the key. And I think more and more especially wealthier clients, are going to demand an integrated experience that fully appreciates the entire balance sheet and income statement view of the family and doesn't just optimize for one piece like tax or one piece like risk. It looks at all of these interdependent variables and optimizes the solution for the client.
Is there a particular advisor that you help? Like, do they need to be a certain size, a certain location, a certain certification? How does it work? Who does Spenser Segal work with?
Yeah, our ICP, if you will, is a financial institution with typically 50 or more advisors that truly believes in helping their advisors build better practices and, more importantly, deeper client relationships, as evidenced by dedicated resources where it's not, advisors wearing 27 hats. They're the chief compliance officer, they're this, they're that. No, more of these professionally managed companies that have people whose full-time day job is to optimize advisor effectiveness and productivity and profitability.
Talk to me about how you get attention from those people. Because I feel, financial advisors are busy. One might say old school. Tell me if I'm wrong. So, what has worked for you, Spenser and ActiFi, to brand, market, get in the right rooms with the right people? I'm not talking about sales just yet, right? But really, how do you get in front of those CEOs, I guess, head of financial institutions with at least 50 financial advisors? What has worked for you to get their attention?
Three things. One is obviously referrals. I've been in the industry, and my colleagues, the leadership of ActiFi, combined, we've got 100+ years of experience. And so we've built a lot of relationships, and a lot of folks that maybe we started our careers with are now in very senior positions. So the personal network is certainly one. Two is thought leadership. We try to do a good job of, I just wrote a book, different, the LinkedIn posts, things that position us as thought leaders. We are interviewed by the press in some cases. So articles, I just had a discovery call with a prospect that found us through an article in Bob Barris's publication, Inside Information. And then lastly, events. So we attend a lot of the key events. There's probably, 10 to 12 conferences a year that we'll attend.
Interesting. Tell me more about this. So the reason I'm asking this is I talk to a lot of professional service firm owners, coaches, consultants, financial advisors, funnily enough. And I think when it comes to marketing, a common belief that there is in the space is that you just need to do a little bit of something, such as, oh yeah, we go to like 2-3 events a year. Whereas like, well, if that works, why not do more? If the goal is growth, right? Obviously, it depends on the goal. But 10 to 12, so basically once per month you go to an event. Tell me more. Why? How?
Well, being in front of our prospective clients or our existing clients is the best way. I always kid around with the team, but it's really true. Is you do more business with prospects and clients when you're talking to them, and ideally face to face, than you do when you're not talking to them. And so it's a surefire way to get conversations going.
Love it. Okay, help us tie all this to revenue. So how do you go from the book, the content on LinkedIn, what else do we have? The articles in the press, referrals, events, to a conversation, a sales conversation, an SOW, a letter of engagement, we rock and roll. What does sales motion look like for ActiFi?
Well, generally they've, again, between those channels, they've found us. They, you know of us. Again, the example that I just had yesterday was they had read the article, they had bought my book, and they said, "We're really excited to talk to you." So that works really well. And generally, it's that kind of motion, the personal referral, the we've met them at a conference, or they've read about us, and recently the book.
Yeah, so because or thanks to the thought leadership that you've built and the brand that you've built, when people get into a call with you, they are basically already there. And it's just figuring out logistics, how do we make this work? Is that the idea?
Generally speaking, yes. And
Amazing.
we're pretty transparent in terms of what is going to be required of them, and if they're not a fit, we won't waste their time, nor will we waste ours, uh, going through a drawn out sales cycle. So we're very transparent. We're very good at what we do. If it's a fit, it tends to click. Our win rate is north of 50%.
Yeah. I love this. I love this for you. So talk to me about the stickiness for clients of financial advisors. If you don't mess it up, right, is usually very good. The hard part is getting the investment in, getting the assets, and then if you do a good job, you let it compound, and depending on the pricing and the positioning, you take your retainer on this. But how does it work for you? So you come in, you help a financial institution, I mean, to use your words, right, who believes in helping their advisors. You come in, you help their advisors build better advisory practices, build better relationships with their clients. And then what? How do you
Well,
think about? Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, what we do is we help the financial institution help their advisor facing professionals, who then help the advisor. So it's more of a train the trainer. And we have a whole platform called Success Pro, which is an advisor engagement platform, which enables them to do that at scale.
And then what? So how do you think about retention for ActiFi? Meaning, how do you solve the next problem and the next problem and the next problem? The goal not being how do we make the most out of each and every client, but how do we keep on providing value so that we can maintain the relationship and obviously them as a customer. How do you think about that?
Well, it's twofold. One is we're constantly improving our product based specifically on client feedback. So we are meeting their ever increasing needs for the most part. And number two is we are true subject matter experts. Like, our clients will tell us we've never had a vendor ever, and these are large firms that work with lots of different partners, that understands our business as well as you do. You speak our language, you understand the nuances. Clearly, you've done this before. So, a lot of times, the firm will attribute quite a bit of value to the platform and the improvements that we're making in direct response to their feedback. But equally, we visit clients, whether it's virtually or in person, ideally in person, at least twice a year, where we go and we'll sit down with them and really talk about what their goals are, what their plans, where they want to take it, and then we will come back to them and say, hey, here's an optimal way to increase the ROI on your advisor engagement platform. Because in many cases, actually in most cases, we can enable the particular use case on our platform, and they don't really have to pay any extra. They're already paying us, so they're essentially getting that added value for free, or for the price that they're already paying.
I like your style, Spencer. So I'm gonna throw a little bit of a curveball question at you now. What is your number one challenge? What is the one nut that you guys are ActiFi trying to crack that you know once you crack, you take the whole thing to the next level? If that's even the point, right?
Yeah.
What would that be
Um,
for you?
just at bats. I mean, what we're doing is working. If we could get a higher volume of incoming leads, because again, our close ratio, because we do focus on our targeted market, the ICPs, um, we win at a very high percentage, but there isn't a huge volume of those coming in the door. So that's it. Just increase the at bats is really the bottom line.
So, okay, so that is pretty much constant improvement of the platform itself. On the other side of the coin, what do you see as one of the biggest opportunities in your space or in your business? What is one thing that, yeah, excites you to work on in the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, the biggest thing is for the first time with AI, we can really help firms create bionic advisors that have the AI enabled capabilities along with their core client facing skill sets. Those two together makes magic happen. And it's hard to execute at scale, and we're getting better and better at doing that. So we have more and more success stories, but the flywheel is still on maybe its first or second rotation. I anticipate that thing will be moving much more quickly a year from now, for example.
More generally, how do you see? So back to my question earlier, how do you? Because ultimately, the final customer of all this, right, is the individual who wants to get their wealth and finances managed. How do you see wealth management at the individual level using AI? Does it change anything, or is it really at the end of the day what you're looking for is a risk-adjusted return, and if you go to someone who's done it for 40 years, the risk of following their advice is lower anyways versus an AI who could pull up anything. It's just me like vomiting my thoughts here. But how do you see this at the individual level?
Yeah, well, I think it's more broader versus deeper. Investment management is one very important piece, and typically a lot of the compensation is tied to assets under management. But what
No.
is really differentiating is understanding holistically the client's entire financial life and understanding their values, understanding their goals. So a lot of elements of value add is around the planning and the advice versus, hey, I can derive more alpha or get you a better investment return than the other guy. I mean, no firm can claim that every time they're going to have a better investment returns than the other person. What they can claim is that they're going to more deeply understand the client's entire financial picture, the whole balance sheet view, and come up with advanced tax strategies, advanced estate strategies, retirement income withdrawal strategies, all these
Yeah.
sorts of things which don't depend at all on the market. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. And,
Yeah.
sometimes you're providing alpha, sometimes you're not. And it's difficult to control that. What is inside the advisor's control is the quality, breadth, and depth of the advice that they offer clients, beyond the investment itself.
Love that. Anything that I didn't ask you, Spencer, that you think we should cover? The on how to grow a successful professional service firm. And it's interesting because back to your train the trainer, right?
Hmm.
You're helping, I mean, I guess not all financial advisors are targeting B2B, but so you have a professional service firm helping other professional service firms, which is interesting. So how do you grow that? Asking from a self-interested standpoint, but also I know a lot of people listening to this show and people we talk to are also selling within that space to other B2B professional service firms. What's the secret to growth? What's your take on this?
I mean, the real secret is to deliver as much value as possible to your clients. I mean, one of the other ways that we get a lot of clients, probably, and I didn't actually mention this, probably a quarter or a third of our clients come when a employee moves from one firm to another and identifies, hey, we have all these problems. ActiFi has, in our previous firm, helped solve those. And we had a system and a process and so forth. And they start to tee us up. So we've got, 3 sales cycles going on where a employee went from one firm to the other, and they kind of are bringing us with them, if you will. So just deliver as much value as possible and don't take these relationships for granted, and really, again, get in person when you can, show up at the events that they're going to be at, make yourself a presence in the industry.
Yeah. Almost feels like in an industry driven by relationships, building and nurturing relationships is the number one aspect of growing a successful business.
Well, I guess that plus delivering value. You can have great relationships and people really like you, but if you don't deliver the goods and you're not moving the dial on the things that matter to them, they'll say, hey, we'll be friends, but we aren't going to do business anymore because you're not delivering the value. And I do think the bar continues to rise, especially in the AI age. You can ask AI any question you want. We as professionals have to demonstrate a whole nother level of professional competence and the ability to understand not only in theory what drives value, but working alongside the firm to make sure that value materializes. There's typically a pretty large gap between the value, the potential value that can be generated versus the actual value that is generated. And a lot of that is, human behavioral change and things of that nature.
Spenser Segal, ladies and gentlemen. Spenser, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
Well, we've got the ActiFi website, www.actifi.com. I have my own website for the book, www.spensersegal.com. And they can reach out to me at Spenser with an S, so SPENSER at ActiFi, ActiFi.com.
We will put all the links in the description. I can say one thing for sure, Spenser, is that you've gained at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview. Me, I've just added you. Spenser, thank you so much for coming on the Principal Podcast.
My pleasure. It's great talking with you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.